Hi everyone, it's so nice to have you here on my channel again. So today we're going to paint this sunset here and we're going to do it using acrylics. So I'm going to put everything in the description box, including a link to the image and all the colours that I'm going to use and things like that. So let's get started. So I've got it loaded up on my iPad, as you can see here, so then I can refer to it throughout the painting. So you might find it helpful to get it loaded up or printed out or something like that. Okay, so I'm going to try and keep it as simple as I can with the colours. I may decide to add more in later, but as I said before, you can find out all the ones that I use in the description box below. So I'm going to start out with some ultramarine blue in acrylic, cadmium yellow, vermilion, or you could use a cadmium red for this. I'm going to add a little bit of Payne's grey, or you could use a little bit of black, just in case we need it to darken some colours. And I'm going to add some titanium white. Okay, and while we're going to block things in for the first layer, I'm going to use quite a big brush. You can use whichever brush that you feel comfortable with and you like the feel of. So I'm going to use a Winsor Gold Filbert Fine Hug, and this is a size 10. But again, you can use whichever one you feel comfortable. The wider the better in this case, because we're going to fill in a lot of the colour here. So make sure you get some water, and I just have an old tea towel, which obviously I'm not going to use as a tea towel anymore. You can use paper towels or anything like that. Okay, let's just wet our brush a little bit. Okay, so if we look at our image, we can see the top bit is a blue background. So we're going to grab some of our ultramarine, and it's a bit lighter than that, isn't it? So we're going to add some white there. I'm just going to add a little tiny bit of the cadmium red, very small amount, just so it looks a little bit more realistic and not so superficial. Okay, so you can add a bit more water than usual in the first layers to make it more easier to get onto the canvas. So we're just going to paint that on. You don't have to be too precise at this point. This is just so we're going to see it peeking through when we put the other layers on top. And you want to do it, if you look at the photo again, you can see probably about a third of the way down from the canvas, and we want to do it up to, so I'm going to say about to here. And if you find it a bit difficult to get onto the canvas, just add a bit more water, make it a bit more runny. Okay, so that's done. If you want the sides of your canvas painted as well, I'd probably say to do that now, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, brilliant, so we've done the first little bit of our painting. So we're going to look at take the next section now and see what the most dominant colour is, and I'm feeling like we should maybe go in with that sort of purple, because I think the orange would be quite nice to paint on top of that. So I think we're going to create this sort of dull blue purple colour now, and then take that probably for the rest of the painting, because you can see it's that similar colour down here as well. So that's what we're going to do now. So let's make up that colour. And I've run out of ultramarine blue already, so I'm going to go ahead and pop some more on there. As I always say as well, don't be afraid to use the paint, because I know it is expensive paint, and I would definitely say you better get in cheaper paints and using more of it if you're feeling a little bit like you don't want to use them, because the more paint you put on, it doesn't always work this way, but I feel like the more paint you put on a painting, on a canvas, the more like a painting it's going to look, you know, and you want to see the brush strokes and the colours interact with one another. And if we're being very, very stingy with it, it doesn't leave a lot to the paint. So, as I said before, don't be afraid of using paint. So we're going to grab some of that red colour as well and pop that in, because you can see it takes the colour down a notch when you add that. And I quite like that colour actually, maybe a tad of white. So yeah, I quite like this colour. So that was just ultramarine and a bit of the red colour, a tiny bit of the red. When we look back at the photo, we can see that this darker blue kind of blends into the sky a bit. So we're going to sort of like use a dragging motion like this. We don't want it to be too careful because it's random, you know, it's nature and it's random. So we don't want to make a sort of a same pattern. But you can also use your brush to, if it's got some white gaps like mine has, if you take it like that and kind of rotate it like that up and down very quickly, it kind of fills in those gaps and blends as well. Okay, and so you can always squint as well. That's what I'm doing when I'm going like that. I'm squinting at the reference photo that I have in front of me, and it kind of simplifies the image into blocks of colour for your eyes. So then when I do that, I can see that this colour goes up here a little bit as well. Okay, that'll do for now, and we can always add some more later. So now I'm just going to take that all the way to the bottom. And further down it's a little bit darker than what we've used there, so I'm not going to add any white in this bit. Okay, brill. And again, I'm going to do the sides now as well. Okay, and now give your brush a good wash. Okay, brilliant. So that's the first layer done. Now we're going to wait for that to dry, so go grab a drink, get some snacks, and I'll meet you back here in a second. Okay, I'm going to move on to a bit of a smaller brush now. This one is a size 5, and it's by Rowney, and it's part of the Bristle series. So that's how big it is. I think next what we need to do is block in where the hills are. If we take some of the ultramarine there and add a bit of the Payne's grey, or if you've got black, just add it into that, and we can even take some of the red just to give it that purpley tinge. And we're going to just pop this in so we know it as a guide, kind of thing like that. So in the image it's in the middle, so we're going to just draw a line across the centre, like so. It doesn't have to be very neat because we're going to go over it again. And we're just going to sort of block in where the shadows are So it starts up here and then sort of comes down. And it sort of comes up again here. And you can change it how you like as well, you don't have to stick to the one that's on the picture. So now we've done that, it's given the painting a bit more structure. So now we can sort of see the comparison to the image that we're going to use as a reference, and we can sort of like pick and choose, oh, which bits aren't in there yet, which bits already are. So we've obviously done the background, we've done the skyline, and now we need to start putting in some of those clouds. So what I'd really like to do first is go over with that purpley tinge some more shadows and shapes here. So if we take our ultramarine again, and a bit of the vermilion or cadmium red, whichever you've got, and if we add a little bit of white, see what that comes out like. And just keep adding bits of blue or bits of red depending on how much more you need. So obviously more red's going to make it more pink and more blue is going to make it more bluey. So we're going to try and get to that purple that's in those clouds there. Once we think we've got it, or as close as we can, we're going to sort of just lightly dust over the canvas with the brush. Because these are wispy clouds that we're talking about, so we don't want to just go and, you know, sort of like make a mark like that, because it's going to stick out quite a lot. So we just want to very lightly with the brush, just scuffle over it like this. Just like a scuffling. And on the image, as you can see, there's some bits just right up there at the top. So, and if there's any bits that stick out a bit too much, then just blend them in. If you like even more of a blended effect, you can then go on to take maybe sort of like a big fluffy brush, one like this, and you can sort of go over it like that, and that will just blend it even further. Like this, if you just go around like this, you can see that just blends it even that little bit more. You don't have to do that bit, of course. Depends on the look that you want to go for. So I'll just keep checking back at my reference photo and popping in this colour where I think it should go. And as always, you don't have to stick to the reference image. You can go a little bit crazy if you want to. Just create your own clouds. I will warn you though, clouds are very hard to replicate, especially if you're making them up. Okay, when you feel like you've done that and you've completed that bit, then if you've got one of these, you can just go over it to just blend it all in. If you haven't, don't worry, it doesn't make that much difference. Again, I think I'm just going to go up the side a little bit. Okay, so now we're going to do the same thing, but then under the what's it called, the skyline? I'm going to just call it a skyline. So, as we said before, this seems a little bit darker, but obviously it's a reflection, so it needs to mirror where we've put our clouds. So we just need to make a very similar colour just to the one that we can see, and we're going to go ahead and pop in that purplish line sort of under the skylight, so we can see that directly underneath. We have this purple line, which I'm going to pop in now. And I'm going to pop that down the side. And then we can see there's a bit of the orange and pinky line. So we're going to save that bit for when we do the orange and pinks, because we'll have the colour then. So then I'm going to just bring this to the second line that we can see here. And as I say, we're going to add that orange line nearer the end. So don't worry if you've not left enough room for it, you can add it on top later. So now we sort of need to mirror where we put these clouds underneath. So I think the reflections look slightly more bluer. So we're just going to add more blue this time. Something like that. And if you squint your eyes, you can see sort of in the centre, it comes sort of round here. So obviously we've already painted the canvas this colour, but we're just going to add a bit more to give it a bit more depth. Okay, I like that. That's nice. Okay, so give your brush a good wash out again. Great, so now I'm thinking we can start adding in the orange and pinky colours. So it's really going to come together at this point. So as I say, give your brush a good wash to get all that blue out. And let's start on the clouds. Okay, so if we start with that pinky colour, right at the top that you can sort of see wispiness again, I think I'm going to take some, I need some more vermilion. Okay, so if we take a little bit of vermilion and just get a tiny bit of yellow, see what that gives us. Actually, yeah, I'm just going to take a bit of blue and just add that in. Because if you use the opposite colour, which orange and blue are opposite colours, it just brings the tone down a bit, so then we need a bit of white. A bit more red. It's literally a case of just keep adding the colour that you think until you get it. And I think that's fairly close now. So there I used vermilion or cad red if that's what you want to use, a little bit of yellow and a little bit of blue and white. So just keep going until you feel like you've got this it's almost like a salmon pink sort of colour. Okay, so then we're going to look at our reference photo again. You can see that along here there's quite a lot of this colour. So again, we're just going to use this scuffling motion, very lightly touching the canvas and just moving very quickly back and forth. It might take you a while to get the hang of this technique, but once you do, it's really useful. And then you can just bring that in here. Okay, and then we're just going to add a little bit up here at the top. Not too much. And a teeny bit here as well. And yeah, if I'm making this weird face that goes like that, I'm just looking at my reference photo. Unfortunately, art makes you make stupid faces, so which is fine when you're not on camera, but when you're on camera and everyone can see it, it's a little bit more embarrassing. And there's quite a lot above this mountain here, so I can add that in. We're going to do a lot more work to this bit, so don't worry too much. And it's good to hold your brush sort of the direction the clouds are going when you're doing the scuffling motion. Because if there are little lines, then at least they're in the right way. And just blend it in as well. Okay, so then we can see the direction sort of then turns back on itself and goes along here. So we can just add that in. And just very lightly, we're just going to wash it over here because we've got a lot more colours to do here. But we can see now that it's really starting to sort of come to fruition and starting to take shape a lot more. Okay, so now we're going to add the same pink colour to the bottom half of the painting. So I've run out, so you might have as well. I'm just going to recreate that. So we've got the red, a bit of yellow, a bit of blue, white, okay. So I'm going to add a little bit more pink this time, or red should I say, sorry. Okay, so we can see on the bottom it's not so easy because we've got the waves and the reflection is sort of going across the waves, which is making all those little tiny lines. So this time we're going to sort of, well, first of all, we're going to put in that line that you can see directly under the skyline. Don't worry too much if it's not too straight because we can change it if necessary. Okay, I'm just going to add that down the side. There we go. And then just take that colour again and we're just going to add underneath that band of purple that we did earlier. And again, just using it very lightly. If you're using canvas, then it will take up the grain of the canvas, which is a nice effect. And I'm just going to pop on this colour where I can see the shadows of it forming. And it's important we use the same colour that we did in the clouds because it's obviously a reflection, so it needs to look realistic. Unless you don't want it to look realistic, then you can use all the different kind of colours that you like. Hey, lovely. It's really starting to come together now. I'd say that we're probably about halfway there now, guys, so well done. Okay, so next we're going to add in that more orangey colour now. So we're going to keep what we've already made and then we're going to just add a bit more yellow. See what that gives you. Obviously we're all going to have slightly different colours, but that's okay. Okay, so I've got sort of like a yellowy, orangey sort of colour, and now we're just going to take that into the clouds again. We're using the same technique, the scuffling motion. As you can see in the distance, the lines are sort of going acrosswards, so we want to do our painting strokes acrosswards too. Okay, so that's quite yellow. Now I'm going to add a bit of white into that. Oh, that's the wrong colour. A bit of white. And do the same with a bit more white in. Okay, that's cool. It's looking really nice now, guys. Well done. Okay, so then we're going to get that old orange, the darker orange again, and we're just going to add in some onto the waves that we can see. So you can see there it's in the centre. Again, using a crosswards motion. And it's coming over here a bit. And a teeny bit over here. And we're just going to pick up that lighter colour, and we're going to add this very, very minimal, just a tiny bit here. Okay, that's great. And give your brush a good wash. Okay, so now we need to add a little bit more pink, because we're missing on the pink a little bit. So get a bit of your red, a bit of your blue, a tiny bit of blue, a bit of white, and a bit of yellow. And yeah, you need to go until you find that pink colour. Okay, I think that's about it. So, I want to bring out the areas where I don't feel there's like enough pink there. So at the minute I feel like we need a bit more here. And this is a lot brighter because before we just did the scuffling motion, which I'm doing again, but I'm going to press on a little bit harder this time so that more colour comes onto the canvas. So we're not going to take this all the way up there because these ones are a bit more wispy and need to be, you know, a lot more delicate. Whereas here, it's a very concentrated area of colour, so we can add it quite strong here, like that. And I'm just going to add a bit more here, down at the bottom. Okay, and the waves. Now here we need to add it in on this line a bit. Maybe get a bit more pink and a bit more blue because it's a bit darker here. And just add it onto this line. And then there's quite a lot of red here we can see. Okay, and then give your brush a good wash again. Okay, so I think what we're going to do now is we're going to make our blues again. I need some more blue. With painting, a lot of it is having a lot of patience and being willing to do a lot of layers, because you sort of want to build the layers on top of each other like this, and that way they sort of build more of a deep painting rather than just seeing what's on the surface and it looking very amateur. Painting lots of different layers can make it look a lot more professional. So we want to get our blue again, a little bit of red, a bit of white, and just keep playing around until we got that colour that we used originally. And then we're just going to, again, go over some of the, just to put in the shape this time. So we've put in a lot of the background, and now we can build the cloud shapes, so the different shapes that we've got. So we've got this coming in here, and we've got a little line here. This is just adding details now. Then that comes down. And then here we've got like little dots of it. Okay, I think that's nice. We don't want too much, just enough to give it a bit of detail. And then we need to make the same colour but a bit darker, so just use blue and red without any white. And then we want to sort of try and make a few of these little wave marks. So you can see it's all sort of welling up in the centre area here, so we want to bring it out from there. So just using a sideways brush stroke, just try and get some of those tiny, tiny little details in there. And you can add a bit of water if it's getting a little bit too thick to be able to do the little details with. Okay, and then give your brush a good wash out. And then we want to take a bit of the red colour that we made before, so mostly red, but a little bit of yellow, and a bit of white, that orangey red colour again. And we're going to just add a little bit more detail, so as you can see the dots in the clouds there, so add a bit of those in. This is a really cool bit where you can experiment a little bit with different techniques. Just make your own up, just try and use the brush to see what feels right. Think about the mark you want to make before you make it, and think about how you're going to be able to do that with the brush. I'm just going to add a little bit more colour here just to blend that in, and just to bring some more contrast. There you go. And then a bit more in the skyline, I think. And then we're going to use the same sort of technique for the bottom bit again, so where we can see the little lines of waves. So we're going to use that just over the, in between the other lines that we've just made. You know, we don't have to do every line. We can just pick a little bit of lines that we want to do and drop them in. Add a bit more water to make your paint more runny if necessary. There's quite a lot of pink lines down here, which is really going to bring it to life. think it's really coming together now. Okay, so I think now what we're going to do is put in the skyline. So you can get your blue, a bit of red, so it's really dark, and then we're going to again draw in the skyline again. So keep looking at your reference picture, see the little bumps in the skyline. And then on the reference photo you can see there's actually, coming from the right, that's a lot darker. So we're going to use the black with a bit of blue, or the Payne's grey. And we're just going to use that on the right hand side because that's going to make this bit look a lot closer. Because the further things are away in a painting, the more the colour is sort of washed out. And up close things, the colour is a lot more strong and contrasted. And you can add some little details that look really good against the sky. Little trees. And again, give your brush a good wash. Okay, now what we're going to do, we're going to add one of the littler bits, but the bits that make a massive difference, well, I think anyway. Just take some pure white, not mix it with any colour, just pure white, and you can use this very sparingly, but it really brings the painting to life. So we can see that just in the clouds there's just a bit of pure white, just a tiny bit, just two strokes. So we're going to add those in now. And you can see how much of a difference that suddenly brings to the painting. Okay, I'm just going to add a bit of foreground now. So again, take your Payne's grey or your black mixed in with a little bit of blue. And we're just going to add in the little rock, there and there. And we're just going to dot it on for the sand and bits of pebbles that you can see. So I'm just taking my blue and black and I'm just dotting it on lightly. So I think we're finished now, guys. I really enjoyed doing that with you, and I hope that you guys enjoyed it as well. You know, try and remember that each painting is a learning step. It's going to take a long time before you feel like you're really happy with your paintings. So if you guys enjoyed that video, please hit that like button and subscribe. It'll be amazing to see how big we can build this community of artists. Thank you so much for your time and your patience with this painting, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks so much. Bye!